Inner Peace Better Health, where soulful minds and purpose driven hearts meet. I am your host, Shreya. Today's guest is Sarah Byers, CEO, award winning leader, poetic truth teller, and co host of the Collecting Insight podcast. With decades of leadership, a deep connection to spirit, and a pen that channels to cosmos, Sarah helps us remember what it means to rise in business, in self, and in soul. So, welcome, Sarah. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Shreya, it is wonderful to meet you, and thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Thank you so much. And Sarah, you blend business leadership with channeled poetry. So, how did those two worlds come together for you?
It's such a good question because not easily at first. I sort of spent a lot of years with them separated. It was sort of like I had these two different parts of myself, and they never met together. So I thought I had to be the professional business leader on one side, and then I got to be the soulful, channeled writer, poet on the other side. And I realized that in order for me to be the most authentic and whole version of myself, which I believe ultimately is what the world wants from all of us, I decided to be really intentional about bringing them together. And granted, that was a pretty big risk. In some of the places I sit, I'm the only female among a group of men. And so to bring in this soulful side could be challenging in multiple ways for a person who's already kind of broken through that ceiling. But
Yeah.
what was amazing is that when I started to do that, for instance, sharing a poem at the start of a business meeting I was chairing, the number of people who came up to me after quietly to tell me that they too were writers, to share expressions of gratitude for my bravery, people almost sharing their hearts with me in a way I'm not sure I'd seen before, showed me that a lot of us have these different pieces of ourselves. And when we can integrate them, we're actually inspiring other people to do the same. So it's helped me just continue to grow and expand that and to just share who I am, no matter what table I'm sitting at.
Yes, that's so wonderful. And also, did one teach you something essential about others?
Um, I think it has. I think it's taught me that we are all on the same exact journey. Sometimes we can feel so alone in what we're feeling. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm a person who has these new feelings and I'm exploring sort of what it means to be a soul in this life. And no one else is thinking this. And they're all thinking about financials and strategy and vision. I think the reality is that we are all a group of complex parts, and that society sometimes asks us to conform and to become what we think other people need us to be. And what I've learned is that I even made assumptions about the people around me, and that there are so many parts of all of us, and most of those parts actually align with each other at their base. Yeah.
Yes. And that integration of hate and hurt is such a powerful message for today's world. And also, you talk about wholeness as a mission.
Mhm.
So, what does that look like in your everyday life, especially when things feel fragmented?
Oh my gosh. It means my trying to stay centered within myself, because to me the deeper we go within ourselves, the which to me is an infinite exploration, the more whole we become and the more connected we feel to actually all of the pieces that are happening in our world. So it's so easy to look upon parts of the world, whatever it is, and see chaos, sadness, destruction in various ways, and to attach judgment to that. To me, all of those parts are part of that wholeness. My wholeness is the same as the wholeness of the world that I find myself in. The more we separate ourselves and break everything into pieces, the more we stand outside of it all. So we really, the space of opportunity to affect change is
Yes.
the space of wholeness, is that space, to your point, of a combination of head and heart, where we bring our intellect and our capability and combine it with our, to me, innate sense of kindness and love and compassion for each other. So, the way that I remain in this space is by being aware of myself and how I am feeling and expanding and communicating in this world. That's my gift, is to my wholeness in that's my part to play in the wholeness of everything.
Yes, yes. And that's such a grounded and gorgeous and a generous reframe, I think, that because wholeness as something already that we have inside us, and that's beautiful that we have explained that. And how can other begin to access their own sense of inner wholeness amid this chaos?
Mhm. Um, to me, it is, we all have a variety of different ways in which to get to this space. However, for me, it is a space of contemplation, and it is actually space. I was always running. I was running from one thing to the other thing to the other thing. I was racing, trying to achieve. And I really didn't have a lot of space. And it doesn't even require, 5 minutes of just sitting and noticing yourself,
Yes.
noticing your body, noticing the things you're feeling, noticing the things you're sensing allows you to just go deeper and deeper within if that becomes a practice. And I'm not going to say a practice as a to do list, something you have to check off, but just as a space that you nurture and love. That develops a love for yourself and an understanding of yourself that then expands wholeness. But it's really hard for people to do because I think they hear about meditation, which is a lovely pathway to this space. Um, but sometimes even meditation, we're doing it with this structure in place and the good and the bad and the things we're supposed to do and not. And that's why I say just contemplation and almost solitude, because that can be anything. And I think we need to allow it to be anything because it's when we structure it, it becomes about the external and not the internal.
Yes, yes, that's so beautiful. And I think I've said that so beautifully. I think it's a very complex topic to talk about, but the way you explained it, it's just commendable. And also, as a channeled writer, how do you know when a poem or a message is meant to come through?
Mm. So I started receiving words in the middle of the night in late 2020. And I received them initially almost entirely in the middle of the night. So I would be sleeping and the words would keep going through my head, like the same 5 words that would start a poem. And it kept going until I wrote them down, until I actually took my head off the pillow and went and wrote them down. And then a whole thing would just come flooding through. Um, and now I sort of am able to get into that space at any time. I have also learned that while to me the words aren't don't belong to me, they're for all of us. Um, I also can't really separate the where it's coming from in me because it's one thing. And so I feel like I have just opened enough space to allow myself to be a vessel for something that is universal that wants to be communicated to all of us. And to me, it's such a gift for me. I just feel so fortunate. And the way that I'm able to discern, I'm not trying at all. I'm not, when my thinking will get in the way. I will argue in my head about a word that doesn't make sense or about something that's coming through that doesn't make sense. And that's when I know my mind is getting in the way. It's not, it's I just need to let it come. But it's an amazing process. Yeah.
Yes, yes, true, true. That's so beautiful. And is there ever resistance in you to let it flow or fear of what it might reveal?
Yes, yes, all of it. Not as much today, but when I started, I've written 3,000 poems and I didn't know initially what to do with them all. I knew that they were guiding my life and expanding me, but I'm like, they're not just for me. And so I started an Instagram page, Dear Joy Love, where I started to post a poem every day. But I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. So I was in this state. I was, serving in the different roles, political roles, business roles, board roles, but no one knew that I was doing this on the side.
Mhm.
So I was my resistance at first. And when I started sharing with people and saw their positive reaction, I began to open up more and more. And now I'm just like, here it is, everyone. This is who I am. But there was resistance, and it's interesting. I own a business, and I'm used to resistance. I'm used to not everyone always agreeing, or us not delivering what we said we were going to deliver, and sort of handling that, space of disappointment, et cetera, or disagreement. I'm used to that. So that didn't bother me as much. It was the showing myself that was the hardest part. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And that honesty around creative vulnerability is so relatable and freeing. And you have led both for profit and non profit boards. So,
Mhm.
what has been your most transformative leadership lesson so far?
Mm, trust yourself. I am an unlikely character at these board tables for a variety of reasons. My trajectory in life has not necessarily been the normal path. And along the way, there were many times that I said to myself that these people or this organization or this company is not looking for someone like me. I would get in my own way often. What I've learned now as a leader is that whatever table, whatever conversation, wherever I am is where I am supposed to be and where I have something to contribute. Even if I know absolutely nothing about the company initially that I'm a board leader in, there is something about myself that is needed for this company.
Yes,
And it could be, as you've talked about, when you talk about head and heart, I tend to bring heart to things that are predominantly head because that's the space that I am most attuned to. So I've had to learn to trust myself,
mhm,
to be brave enough to share the things that no one else might be thinking, and to trust that I'm there for a reason. So that
yes,
has been my greatest lesson.
yes, yes. And that's the alchemy of real leadership impact without losing your own self. That's so, so, so wonderful. And how do you lead others with soul while navigating practical pressures?
Mhm. I think with the understanding that the pressures of life are always going to be there, that is part of life in itself. So the chaos, the hard times, I mean, life to me is a wave. It's ebbing and flowing always. And if we are solely searching for a space of equilibrium and contentment, we're actually never going to be satisfied. We're never going to be able to find a space of acceptance because we're looking for something that just doesn't exist. So to me, what I try to share is a space of acceptance, even in the hard times, even when you are navigating an incredibly complex situation that is serious, that has dire consequences, which I have been involved in many. In those moments as well, we need to understand that that too is impermanent, that it's momentary, and that we choose whether or not to suffer in it. We choose whether or not to attach ourselves to it rather than flow through it. So to me, um, I think that that is the thing that I bring to those situations is some might call it positivity, but I don't think I think it's ground in just acceptance and presence rather than a feeling that everything's going to be okay because not everything is okay. Um, but we have to be present in it nevertheless.
Yes, yes. So that sounds like a true leader, that you are saying. And also, your words often carry deep spiritual resonance. So, what insight would you offer to someone who feels stuck or unsure of their purpose right now?
Oh, I spent so long there. um, I think sometimes we're searching. We've been taught to search outside of ourselves for this purpose, for this space where we finally feel like we are connected spiritually, and then we'll feel abundance financially, and everything will sort of come together. And I think that I have finally accepted, and let me just say, Shreya, this took a very long time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I've finally accepted that where I find my greatest alignment, where I find my greatest joy, that's my purpose.
yes,
So when I am in connection, if it, it's almost whatever I'm doing, but feeling in connection and alignment with myself, that is purpose. It's not specific. It's not my purpose is to, host a podcast, or my purpose is to be a board leader, or my purpose is to do any of the things that I'm doing. My purpose is to be in the space of complete and utter authenticity because that's where I feel spirit. And that's where I am giving the most that I possibly can to the world. So I would say to those people, find your joy. And when people say that, that used to bother me. I'm like, I don't know where my joy is. But that's when you truly just, you walk through life almost a witness to yourself, like pretending that you are like a radar of some sort, like that's navigating. And you're like, where do I start beeping? You're like, okay, I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to do this. Where is it that I start beeping and feeling full and fulfilled? That right there is the space that you're looking for because that's your purpose.
yes, yes. And I think sometimes all we need is one light filled question to begin our return to ourselves. And you have said that so beautifully, so beautifully. That's really, really wonderful. And is there a practice or question they can ask themselves to begin shifting?
Um, the first question that came into my mind was, who am I?
Yeah.
And that may sound really simplistic. Um, but it is one of the hardest answer, or it was one of the hardest questions for us to answer, I believe, because we have a tendency to explain ourselves through the identities that we carry that are constructed outside of us. So I could say, who am I? I'm a mom, I am a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm a friend, I'm a leader. I could say all of those things. But in trying to find purpose, none of those define my purpose. So I have to keep going through the layers of who am I? Keep going through them, and different layers will surface different things. I might have gone to, where am I? I'm someone who's mission driven, who believes in equity, and who believes in it believes that we can all thrive. And then I'm like, who am I? And get all the way down. And for me, that has been, I am love.
Yes.
And so my purpose has been has been bringing love, and the only way I can do it is in alignment with myself. But that question of who am I, and going through all of the layers, helped me find ultimately what my purpose in this life actually is, because I was able to find who I was.
Yes, that sounds so, so, so beautiful. And also, you mentioned that Purpose doesn't always come in loud declaration. What did
Mhm.
your own path whisper before it ever spoke clearly to you?
Ah, um, I always heard, I always felt something outside of myself. I always knew that there was something bigger than me. And because I always knew that from a very young age, I made some questionable choices, but I always trusted that I would be okay on the other side. I took leaps that didn't make any sense to anyone, that ended up changing my life in positive ways forever. So to me, I was really fortunate to know that I was just a really small thing and that there was something bigger guiding me. Um, and I feel really fortunate for that because when I didn't sort of speak any of this that I'm speaking right now, I always had that. And so I would guess so many of us have that little flicker of light inside of us. And while it may be saying something that is different than what mine said to me, I think that flicker of light is often where we need to start because I think every single one of us have it.
Yes, yes, and that validation of quiet purpose feels like a medicine for so many who are still finding their voice. And this conversation with you is amazing. And if I have to say something to my listeners or give them a message, what would you say?
I think that I would say that nothing is impossible, that there is a design and greatness within each of us that goes beyond our imagination. So it's something that we can't even imagine. So, what I would recommend to anyone is to allow for all of the impossible dreams to happen by believing in them, because they really can come true. I never would have expected doing half of the things that I've done. And I never would have expected in the last 4 years to be in this path. But by not stopping it myself, by saying that's impossible, that's not for me, that can't ever happen, that I didn't erect my own barriers. And so there's no question in my mind that each person is designed for a greatness that they don't even know.
Yes, yes, that's so nice. And I think your words are so powerful itself. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Um, they can connect through following me on Instagram at Dear Joy Love or by visiting my website at sarahsbyers.com. Yeah.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all the details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you and can listen more from you because you're a wonderful person and what you say are so wonderful. Your words are so powerful and you have just said and explained so many complex topics and situations of our lives so beautifully. That's so wonderful. And to my audience, thank you, Sarah, for your poetry presence, and permission to rise whole. If
Mm,
you are listening right now and wondering when it's your turn to step into courage, consider this as your sign. Read her poems, read into your truth, and remember your light doesn't just belong to you, it's meant to be seen. So stay kind, stay brave, stay rising, and listen to Inner Peace Better Health. Thank you.